So why in the world would anyone want to buy a Sportster that hasn't been started in 8 years? Well, for me, there were 3 reasons. Number 1 was the obvious challenge of getting the bike started and rideable again while improving my wrenching skills. The second reason was the low price. I only had to put $1,000 on the wheel for this misadventure. And reason number 3, the lady who sold it to me said it had only been ridden 900 miles. So hey, what could go wrong? Welcome back, everyone. This is Trip, and this is episode number 4 of my Barn Find Harley Sportster 1200 restoration series. And today we're hopefully going to find out whether or not this Barn Find Sporter really does have just 900 miles on the clock. So as I've been working on the bike, I've really started to think, 900 miles? Really? I mean, the bike's in good shape, but it's not in that good a shape. And when we changed the oil filter the other day, the oil came out just a bit too dark for my liking, for having only 900 miles on the bike, that is. So my curiosity getting the best of me, I've decided to hold off a little bit on cleaning out the gas tank and finding out, does this 16-year-old Sporty really only have 900 miles on it or not? Let me guess, you're thinking, Trip, you idiot, just look at the odometer. Well, not so fast, folks. This 2004 Sporty Roadster has a digital odometer, not an analog. So barring any unforeseen problems, let me show you what exactly we're going to need to solve today's mystery. Obviously, first, we need a battery to replace the one that's been sitting in there unused for 8 years. And today we're going to go with an Interstate battery. I've always had really good luck with Interstate. It meets all the OEM specs of the original Harley battery, except that it's about $50 cheaper. Now, I'm not going to say it's any better than the Harley battery, but I also am not going to say it's any worse. And for $50, what the heck? Next, to take off the battery strap, which holds the battery in, we need a socket wrench, and for the nut on the strap, we need a 7/16 socket. Then, to remove the terminal connecting bolts, we're going to need a 10mm. And then last but not least, the keys. Now, normally the first steps to do this job would be to remove the seat and the battery cover. However, this bike is missing the battery cover. Unfortunately, Sporties are notorious for losing their battery covers. So today we don't need to be troubled by such superfluous nonsense.
A few moments later.
Well, I decided to take off the seat anyway because I wanted to show you where these clips are that hold the battery cover in place. All you have to do is go over one good bump, they detach, the battery cover falls out, and it's $120 to buy a new one. Thank you, Harley. So as you'll notice, this battery strap is really rusted and pretty gnarly. I've got a new one on order, and this one is going to go by the wayside as soon as the new one comes in. So I've got a small ratchet driver and the 7/16 on it, and of course, left to loosen. And the top of the strap simply connects by fitting in that slot there. We'll just lift that right out. It should come out pretty easy. Now the first thing I'm going to do is disconnect the positive with the 10mm socket. Well, that was pretty easy, just took one turn. All right, let's get the battery out of here. Well, surprise, surprise. I was expecting a Phillips head screw there, but it looks like it's another 10mm. Put that aside, and I find some good news. The battery box in there doesn't look too bad. Just a little surface rust that we ought to be able to take off pretty easy. So that's making me feel kind of good. Before I put the new battery back in, I'm going to take a wire brush and just give the terminals a little scrub to get any sort of corrosion off them to make for a good connection. Before we put the new battery in, I just wanted to show you a difference between the replacement battery and the actual manufacturer's battery. The terminals mounted flush, sticking out from the front. The replacement battery, you've got your choice of doing them from the top, from the sides, or from the front. So they give you some different hardware to take advantage of each of those options. This battery fits several other models of motorcycle than just the Harley Sportster, and that's why they can make more of them and make them cheaper. One last thing I'm going to do before we put the battery in is I'm going to test it to make sure it's good. And everybody ought to have one of these. You can get them off of Amazon, you can get them off of eBay. They literally cost about $8. They'll tell you if your battery is good, if it has a problem, and if it's a good battery, how much charge it does have in it. The red or the positive to the positive side, and we're going to connect the black or the negative to the negative. Well, the key light is the one at the very bottom. It says battery good, state of charge is 80%. I just bought this battery, and it should have plenty of power for what we're going to do today. So now that we have a live battery, it's very important not to arc the positive and negatives. So first we're going to start with the negative terminal. We need to make sure we put that spacer in there. I don't know if you can hear that train in the background, but hello, Mr. Train. Get that hand started like so. Get it nice and snug. Make sure we're clear of everything here. Now we're going to connect the positive terminal, and we have to be really careful not to connect this wrench with the frame or any other metal parts where it might create an arc and short things out or do something crazy to the electrical system, of which I know very little about and I'm certainly not good at fixing. All right. Tuck this away, make sure that battery is in there snug. Now we put back the nasty old battery strap that lifts up. Just kind of push it into there, you hear that click, and then we'll reinsert that bolt in the bottom to hold it. Got the 7/16. Well, now that we've got the new battery in, we're just about ready to see if this bike truly does just have 900 miles on it. Now, I don't want to disappoint you guys, but we're not going to truly start the bike today. We're just going to flip it over to accessory and see how many miles are on the odometer. There could be rust inside the cylinders. I know we got them free, but I don't know what's in there, and I don't want to scar these things up. I'm thinking I want to do a quick bore scope inside this baby before we finally throw the switch. I've got the spark plug wires tucked away to prevent any chance of ignition. And now for the big moment we've all been waiting for. So I must confess, I've had my doubts. We've got rust, we've got missing pieces, and we had oil that looked like it was a lot more than 900 miles old. You know, we really need some suspense music here, but I'm not sure which we ought to play, Jeopardy or Jaws. So here we go. Are you ready, folks? 900 or bust? Whoa, 992 miles. Excellent. It's time to do the happy dance, folks. She was only off by what, 10 or 11%? I guess I can let that slide. Well, the old barn find Sporty is looking better every day. Now, to be honest, when the lady who sold it to me told me it only had 900 miles on it, I thought she had to be mistaken. I mean, after all, she had totally lost interest in the bike. She hadn't ridden it in God knows how long, and it hadn't been started in 8 years. So I wouldn't have been surprised at all if this bike actually had 9,900, 19,000 miles, you name it. So the fact that it truly does only have 992 miles on it just makes me happy as can be. Well, I don't know if this video has made you as happy as can be, but I hope you've enjoyed watching it at least. So until next time, this is Trip on Two Wheels and the Barn Find Harley Davidson Sporty, asking you to ride safe and ride often.